I would like to go ahead and pass the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the evening. If I could also just mention, please try to keep your microphones on mute unless you're going to speak. Once you're done speaking, go back onto mute. I'll try to monitor that as the meeting goes along. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to private chat me. I'm happy to answer questions and help out. At this point, I'm going to hand this over to our Toastmaster for the evening, Toastmaster Tanya Howard. Take it over, Tanya.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everybody. The agenda for today, our theme is Staycation 2020. So technically, I am on summer vacation. This is my second week of vacation. It's starting to run together for the past 4 months that I've been at home as well, too. But for my kiddos, I really wanted to try to make this seem a little bit like a vacation and have some activities for them. And so I would like to share with you my summer vacation pictures during my staycation time here in Dallas. And so really, a staycation is when a family or people stay at home and they participate in activities where you can go driving distance and away from your home. There's no hotel accommodations. You just enjoy the things in your area as much as you can. And so I would like to share just some activities that we've done on our staycation over the past week, or we're planning to do, and maybe they'll pique some ideas that you hadn't thought of and that you too can participate in a staycation as well. So last week we went to Fossil Rim, which is in Glen Rose. It's about 1 hour and 30 minutes from Dallas. It's a wildlife center, and you can go online and get a ticket. You pay for the car, and the people that are in the car, they give you a bag of food that you can use to share with the animals there, and you stay in your car. And we had a really good time. Here are some of the pictures of animals that we saw on our trip at Fossil Rim. You'll see that at Fossil Rim, they have about 18 different types of deer, and the animals come very close to the cars. They are very docile and trained to seek food. So they will walk right up to the car. They'll stand right in the middle of the road waiting for you to feed them. Even the giraffes, you could feed them by hand. They encourage you not to feed the animals by hand, but of course we don't always follow directions, and so many people were still doing it. The zebras were there. They have cheetahs, wolves, and then of course the giraffes. And so it was a really great place to go. They have different times throughout the day. It took about 2 hours to get through the park. I recommend that you go, the first shift starts at 8:30. So I definitely recommend early morning time when you're going. And also they have a gift shop at the middle of the area. They have the restrooms and a cafe so that you can get out in the halfway point of the facilities to take a break. But it's a really neat place to go with your family and enjoy beautiful scenery up in the hills. It is, you go I-67 towards Fort Worth and cross over I-35 west to get there. And it's really a neat place to take and to go and to share with your family. And so that was our staycation adventure last week, and it took half of the day, and we had a really great time. So I definitely recommend that. So this evening, our duty holders, I'm going to share with you our duty holders for the evening and ask them to introduce themselves. Our timer for the evening is Lee King.
So my role for this evening will be to do exactly that, to time the various portions of the meeting. It looks like we have a 46-minute speech. Someone else will have to time my 5 to 7 minute speech, table topics, and evaluation. When someone meets the qualifying time, I will show the green card. halfway through the qualifying time, you'll see the yellow card. And then finally, after at the end of your qualifying time, you'll see the red card. You'll then have 30 seconds to wrap up. Failure to wrap up within that 30 seconds will lead to disqualification on the various awards for the evening. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Great, thank you. And
Tanya,
this,
Tanya, may I step in here just for a moment?
yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that we welcome Charlene Scott, who joined us, and if my memory serves me right, Charlene is our assistant area director. Is that correct?
No, I'm just a guest.
Okay, I apologize.
No problem.
Regardless,
No, Charlene's a
glad
returning
you joined
guest.
us, Charlene. Thank you so much.
Also, let me say, I will time your speech for you, Lee. Just taken.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
And then this evening, Mark Shorter will be our posture bell. And you can share with us the duties for posture bell.
Thank you, Tanya. As posture bell, what I will be doing in general is looking for particularly good or bad posture. And if I happen to see something that I consider distracting, believe it or not, you're going to hear a ding because I've got a dinger. I will, of course, be quiet during the prepared speeches so that I don't interrupt the prepared speakers or effectively rattle them too much. But I will use the bell during other portions. I hope that that does not grab the screen too badly every time that I do that in speaker view. It may, but we'll see how that goes. We'll try it at least once so that people get the immediate feedback that is available if they're doing something that is distracting. I will also have a report of the posture that I see for our prepared speakers at the end of the meeting. Tanya?
Great, thank you. And this evening, Mark Sims will hold two duties, the awe counter and the grammarian. If you'll share with us, Mr. Sims.
As awe counter, I'll be listening for any crutch or filler words such as you know. And when I hear that, I will make a note and report when I'm called upon by the general evaluator. As grammarian, I will introduce the word of the day. The word of the day is indolent. Indolent is an adjective that means lazy, wanting to avoid activity or exertion. And in the summertime, you may be taking a staycation and you just don't want to do a whole lot of things, and so you will be indolent. Or another usage is that my boss may think I'm indolent because he catches me asleep at my desk. So please use this during the table topics portion of the meeting. You have to use it then in order to win the competition. Feel free to use it also during the remainder of the meeting. And also as grammarian, I'll be listening for any grammar lapses and also listening for any really colorful phrases. And again, I will report when called upon by the general evaluator. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. And last but not least, our vote counter for the evening is John Vessels.
Okay, as vote counter this evening, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to count the votes. At different portions of the meeting, after the speakers, table topics, evaluation, and the big three, you'll be called on to vote for who you thought you did the best job in their appropriate position tonight. What I need you to do is when you called for a vote, to send me a private email through the chat window here, and just let me know who you thought did the best job, and I will count those. And then at the end of the night, when called upon, I will give the winners of the ribbons. Miss Table Topics Master.
Great, thank you. So here is another gem that I thought you, that you might enjoy on your staycation here in Dallas. The Dallas Arboretum. It is a botanical garden that is here in Dallas off of Garland Road. And believe it or not, the garden opens at 7 o'clock in the morning, which might be the only time now that you can comfortably tour the garden and outside. And it's really nice, it's beautiful. And every year the Arboretum has a theme or some special events that they do. And this season they have these mannequins that look very lifelike. And they are stationed throughout the gardens, and you can go and visit the gardens. It's very beautiful. They have koi ponds there, and it's just a really neat place to see. And so they let you come in very early in the morning. You can have 6 feet of spacing so you don't have to wear a mask when you're there and you're outside, and they allow you to come in at there are timed opportunities to come in, and they give each group about 4 hours actually to spend in the garden, and the gift shop is open as well. And it's just a really beautiful place. There's places to sit, you can eat outside, and it's just a really beautiful place that's right here in our very own backyard, the Dallas Arboretum. I actually was married here, and I just really enjoy going there and just thinking about that happy occasion, and just really trying to get out and not be indolent in my vacation time here at home, and really trying to find something fun to do. So tonight we have 2 speakers, and our first speaker is Karen Lee. The title of her speech is Flood, and her evaluator is Rob Giles. Rob, would you like to introduce the speech for Karen?
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Karen is giving her first speech out of the Pathways education program, and this is her icebreaker. Now, Karen's been with us for a long time. She took a little bit of a sabbatical from Dallas Social Toastmasters and is now back. And so this is her first endeavor into the Pathways program. And so she's giving her icebreaker, or another icebreaker. And what we're looking for in this is things that she is doing well, things that she may consider working on to improve and grow, and perhaps learn a little bit more about her, and perhaps during some of the time that she's been away from Dallas Social Toastmasters. So we're looking for that. Her speech time is 4 to 6 minutes for the timer. I do want to mention that both speakers and all speakers throughout the night, please pay attention and look for Lee King. Obviously, Lee looks for Dagan when he's speaking, but pay attention and even pin the timer to your screen if you have to, in order to maintain that view of the timer. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Help me welcome Karen Lee.
Okay, you said something about pinning the timer. I don't know how to do that. How do I do that?
As long as you can see the timer, that's fine.
Okay, who's the timer today?
Lee King.
Here's Lee. I see him. Okay.
And Karen, there is a ... in his window. If you click on the ... you'll find pin video.
Yes, so you can do that.
Oh, that's what that is. Oh, I got you. Okay. All right. But how do I see myself?
You won't see yourself if you do that.
Hang on. I'm going to have to unpin myself for a second until I can get my my computer. How do I say this? Until I can see myself on the computer in front of me, and then I can pin him again. So I gotta get myself in the screen right. Okay, I'm good. Okay, now I can pin him again. Where'd he go? Here he is.
I haven't gone too far.
What'd you say? You
I haven't gone too far.
You haven't gone far? Okay, good. Okay. You may hear an alarm go off, but don't just disregard it during the speech. Okay. Now, Turn the water off now. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, the purpose of this speech is to tell you a story about what happened in my condominium on March 30th, 2020. I signed the papers on this condominium January 16th, 2020. I had to give 60-day written notice to my apartment per policy before I moved in here. On March 30th, the plumber arrived an hour late. The water was scheduled to be turned off at 9 a.m. Let me explain. When the water is turned off, air conditioning is turned off, and all the water to every condominium, which is 54 units, is also turned off. And so I cannot turn the water off in this unit just alone by itself, like you can in a house. So about 11 a.m. that morning, the plumber was behind the refrigerator installing an ice maker box. And he said to me, "Is the water running?" And I was across the room at the printer, attempting to print something. And I said, "Yes, the water's running." And he came from behind the refrigerator and he went over to work under the sink. Well, the pipes were not connected under the sink. He attempted to hold the pipes together with his bare hands. Later, I learned that the water was coming out at 100 pounds per square inch. He said, "If I let go of the pipes, your kitchen is going to flood." Finally, I was yelling at him and I said, "Let go of the pipes now. Let go of the pipes now. I have insurance. Let go. I don't want you to get hurt." He finally let go of the pipes. I ran and ran and ran as fast as I could back to the master bedroom. His assistant, Brian, was under the house. I have a pier and beam foundation. This house was built in 1963. And I yelled at Brian and I said, "Get out from under the house now. The kitchen is flooding. Get out from under the house." And so when he finally heard me, he scrambled out. And I went and I ran back, got some towels to give to the plumber. And they started trying to soak the water up in the towels, and the plumber was drenched. And so finally, I finally got to the phone and I started calling the HOA manager. His office phone was just a voicemail. He picked up on his mobile phone and I said, "You've got to turn the water off now." I said, "My kitchen is flooding." So the HOA manager called the contracted company to come out and turn the water off. The kitchen did flood. The plumber was able to give me the telephone number for a company to come out and start vacuuming, or not vacuuming, but to start drying out the water with the fans and the dehumidifier. And they went under the house and they put 10 fans under there, smaller fans. They had fans on the cabinetry, and well, that's been since March. The company that I got a contractor coming in, and they started working today to start tearing out the cabinets, to pull out the sink. They also have been working on the that's what they did today. The cabinet people come in tomorrow. There's also a small leak that needs to be repaired as soon as possible. The air conditioning people were also here. That's a totally separate deal. I've been waiting weeks for the air conditioning people to get here. And finally, they came today. Well, long story short, there was an awful accident that happened. The blower fell on one of the AC technician's arms. There was blood everywhere. Blood was on the tarp. Blood was on the floor, all the way down to where the truck was parked. He had to have some towels. He had to be taken to the emergency room. So I'm not sure how he's doing yet. They were treating him at Presbyterian Hospital, Dallas. So that is my story. Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you, Karen. Our next speaker for the evening is Lee King, and he is being evaluated by John Vessels. John, would you please introduce Lee?
Thank you, Tanya. Lee's speaking tonight from a Pathway series, Making Connections Through Networking. The title of his speech is called Connecting to Toastmasters. The general purpose of his speech is for a project for members to develop and practice a personal strategy to building connections through networking. And for him, the purpose of the speech is to share some aspects of his or her experience networking. His speech is 5 to 7 minutes. And again, it is Connecting to Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Everyone,
Again.
please welcome.
Lee, please be sure that you watch Dagan and have him pinned if you need to for time. Sorry about that, Tanya.
Everyone, please welcome Lee King.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This evening, I thought I would share with you all the benefits of connecting with Toastmasters. As many of you know, I have been in Toastmasters for a few years, and I have learned a lot about speaking, leadership, some life lessons. But the one thing that I feel that I have gotten the most out of Toastmasters is that of networking. Now, while this individual project is designed specifically for speaking to the fact that I attended a single networking event and sharing a single networking event with you all, I thought that given the nature of this speech and the opportunities that I've had in Toastmasters, that it would be more appropriate to really just talk about how, if you are involved in Toastmasters and you go beyond the club and you use the networking opportunity, what opportunities you might have and what you stand to learn as a Toastmaster and really as an individual. But first, let's talk about the opportunities that you have as an officer and going to officer training, frequently called the Toastmaster Leadership Institute. This is a great way to meet other officers, and this is an opportunity for you to learn about leadership skills within your club, how to become a better leader in your club, and how to do your job effectively. But the benefits of learning leadership don't just stop there. You also have the opportunity to meet a wide range of people. Some people who are professional educators, others that are professionals in healthcare, other people that are professionals, engineers, and people from all walks of life in many different roles in between. Not only do you really learn about your role as a leader and how you can be an effective leader within your club, you also have the opportunity to learn how other organizations lead. And what you find is that the way that every leader functions is somewhat based on their training and what they do as a profession. That's a really great way to see how you can take information, practice in your club, and perhaps take it back to your profession. Another great networking opportunity, and one that I've had an opportunity to participate in, is the various district conferences, which used to be twice a year. Now, after Toastmasters has done some leadership structural changes to the educational program, We now have a conclave in the fall and a conference in the spring. But this is an opportunity where you can spend a whole weekend with Toastmasters, and you really get that opportunity to learn about leadership, you learn about speaking, you get to see contests, and you get to experience some really fun times. But side advantages to going to district conferences is you really have that opportunity to, again, network with people that you don't know. One thing that I always like to tell new Toastmasters is when you go to a conference, don't spend the weekend with people you know. Spend the weekend with people that you don't know, because that's where you will learn and grow as a Toastmaster, as a speaker, as a leader, and again, as a professional. You would be surprised how many times you learn something about other professions that you can use. Perhaps you will find new friends, be able to connect with people that can help you out later in life. Perhaps, maybe someday, if you need to see a doctor and you have fears of going to the doctor, perhaps through your networking in Toastmasters, you might connect with a really good doctor. Or perhaps one of your fellow Toastmasters could be the doctor, and you might feel more comfortable spending time with them as opposed to someone you don't know. So again, having a weekend away to just focus on meeting new people and spending time with people that you don't know is an incredible opportunity. The final networking opportunity that I've had in Toastmasters, and of course there are multiple, I could never fit all of it into a 5 to 7 minute speech, but that is reaching outside of your club and going to different clubs. We have a lot of community clubs. We have a lot of corporate clubs just here in the Dallas area. One thing that I enjoy the most is visiting corporate clubs because I always get to learn something new. Not only do I meet new people, new leaders, new speakers, learn new speaking and leadership skills, but I've had the opportunity to see things that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. In many ways, when I got laid off and I had a lot of time that I spent going to different corporate clubs, I almost felt like I was having a staycation here in Dallas. For example, there's a Toastmasters club at the Frito-Lay. I actually got to go see the Frito-Lay factory and see how chips were made. It was very educational, very interesting. Another place is PepsiCo. Again, I actually got to see how Coke was made, or soft drinks were made. A very interesting learning opportunity. So, in conclusion, I would encourage you to have the opportunity to reach outside of your club, attend TLIs, even if you're not a leader. Just go and meet new people. Go to conferences or conclaves. And finally, take opportunities to go and visit new clubs and new environments. Always remember one thing. If I cannot stress one thing more than enough in a 5 to 7 minute speech, whenever you're with Toastmasters, don't spend all the time with the people you know. Spend the time with the people you don't know. Adam, say Toastmaster.
Great, thank you, Lee. I'll have a timer's report now. Did both speakers meet their time?
Karen qualified on her time.
And Lee qualified on his.
Great. So now at this time, we will vote for the best speaker, and you will send your vote to John Vessels. So you can also send a personal message to each speaker, giving them feedback on their speeches as well. So we'll give time to go ahead and vote.
Tanya,
Yes, ma'am?
it's Karen. Are we still doing the word of the day to qualify for best speaker or no?
Not for the speaker.
Not for the
Table
speaker.
topics.
Pardon me?
Table topics.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So continuing thinking about our staycation and looking at places that you might want to consider going. Right here also is White Rock Lake, which is very close to the Arboretum. It's outdoors, so there's plenty of opportunities for social distancing and being outside without having necessarily to wear a mask, but having the opportunity to social distance. White Rock Lake, there is over 9 miles of biking and hiking paths. There's a dog park, boat ramps, fishing, and there's also a place that you could rent a kayak. So if you're interested in getting out on the water. So that is a really neat place to think about when you're trying to decide what to do at home. Also, I recently discovered Cooper Farms in Fairfield. It is going south on 45 towards Houston. It's about an hour and a half away from Dallas. And at Cooper's Farm, it's a peach farm, but they also make homemade ice cream and homemade goods, dips, dressings, jellies, preserves, and old-fashioned sodas, as well as they have pecans and pecan pies. And so they also make homemade soaps, and they have a gift shop also, so you could buy some knickknacks from the gift shop as well. Now, I haven't been to Cooper's Farm, but I look forward to going there this weekend as our staycation continues this week. This will be our next outing. So I will let you know how good that peach homemade ice cream is the next time. Now is the time for us to move on to our table topics. And our table topics master for the evening is Dagan Newland. Mr. Newland, please help me welcome Dagan Newland.
All right. So I just want to give you some reminders before we begin. First reminder is the time frame. So remember, it's 1 to 2 minutes. You must hit 1 minute, and you have up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have to be between 1 and 2.5 minutes to qualify. Another thing is the word of the day. You must use the word of the day during the table topics. And the word of the day is indolent, so make sure you use the word of the day. Also, the third thing, remember, if I choose you a question to give you, please remember to pin Lee, or at least have them in your view if you're on grid view, so you can be aware of the time frame. Today, I picked my questions really kind of based on, it's a pandemic theme. So, because I didn't know the theme of the meeting tonight, so I just went on my own today. So my first question is going to go to Mark Sims. And things have been opening up for a while now, at limited capacity. Have you ventured out to do stuff, or are you waiting until the pandemic is more under control and being indolent? Mark Sims.
I am waiting on a lot of things. While the government can obviously place restrictions on what you do and give recommendations, we all can take the private initiative and not do everything we can. We can take the initiative to limit our activities. I have been doing that, even at the risk of being called lazy or indolent. For example, a few weeks ago, I was running out of some clothing I needed, so I did make one run to fix that. But by and large, for the last few months, it's been going to the grocery store, going to restaurants, drive-thrus for a takeout. On occasion, twice I've actually sat inside Whataburger when there were not many people there. And so I've been very cautious about that because it was quite discouraging in the last few weeks, the recent uptick in cases. And if I ended up catching the coronavirus, it would not be any comfort to me to be able to say, well, I followed all the rules. No, it's probably wiser to be better safe than sorry. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mark. I'm kind of the same way. I've been basically just when I get out of the house, I'm either going to work or getting the basics like the grocery store. Although there was one point, probably about a month and a half ago, I did go to the local Torchy's Taco to have some tacos, but we were the only ones in there, so I felt a little at ease, but I was still kind of nervous about it. But yeah, I'm the same way. Just gonna stay at home until things get better and just go out for the basic needs I need. All right, my next question is going to go to the other Mark Schroeder. And since the pandemic has started, have you been more thoughtful about things like washing your hands or covering your mouth when you cough? Although we have those masks now, but have you always done things like that, or are you more conscious about it?
Thank you, Dagan. With regard to, I guess you would call it all the hygiene, sanitary hygiene that we're supposed to be doing now, it's definitely not something that I have done before. I can't say that I am completely indolent and lazy with regard to doing it, but it's not something that I do 15 or 20 times a day. I ended up with the situation where I did not have any Purell on us for all practical purposes. I had just a little bit when the pandemic started. So I've been making my own Purell out of 99% alcohol and aloe vera, which I managed to find separately and have been mixing myself. And I go through a fair amount of that, and I do a fair amount of hand washing right now, which is something that I have definitely not done before. I think the thing that is the biggest for me is noting where I touch, how many times I touch, and what I touch. Because for instance, I've done the same thing that you've done. I've gone out for takeout and brought takeout in. It is not uncommon for me to go back out to the car. It has been, first of all, it's been put in the trunk. I have not touched it. It was put in the trunk and I closed the trunk, so they didn't even touch the trunk. Bring it in with one hand, knowing that the other hand is the good hand. Put it down. I've learned how to unpack almost everything with one hand so that I can get everything onto out of the containers with the good hand onto a clean plate, put it on the other side of the blue line on the table, and then put it into a microwave for a little bit. So I think that one of the biggest things, it's certainly something that I do not want to have to do for the rest of my life by any means. But I have been pretty careful with regard to what I touch, when I touch it, and at least remembering that I touch it, even to the point that I will put one hand behind my back to make sure that I remember which is the dirty hand and which is the clean hand, or which is the contaminated hand and which is the clean hand. It's all been practice, but I'm getting a lot better at it, and I hardly ever touch my face. Hagen.
All right, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I've been a lot more conscious about it myself lately. Before, working on the support and the docks and stuff like that. Before always working with boxes and things like that, and always getting dirty. So you wash your hands or something like that, you're just gonna get dirty again. So we never really think about it. But of course now, the pandemic, we got these little bottles of hand sanitizer stationed everywhere. So it's a little more actionable, and we got these kind of actually got a foaming, so when you pump it, it foams out. So I like that a lot better than the Purell, because then you can just kind of it's kind of like washing your hands with not soap, but sanitizer. Our next question is going to go to Mary. So Mary, what are some of the top things on your list that you want to go do when this pandemic is over that you haven't been able to do yet? Take it off mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Oh yes, I have a huge list. One of the things that I do enjoy is traveling. I love traveling everywhere in the US and outside. I typically take vacation going outside of the US. Now I am thinking about doing more inside, but one of my top destinations is gonna be going to do an African safari. You can see there on the back of my of me, and you see Abraham Lincoln. I got that in Las Vegas from going to see David Copperfield. And inside it says that I was gonna go visit Africa. I was gonna do an African safari last year. That was supposed to be my future. So I'm still planning to do that. However, Tonya was explaining about a safari that I can do here. So I'm gonna plan on doing that trip very soon, maybe this weekend, because I'm looking what to do this weekend. So it may be not that I am indolent, but it's just the situation doesn't let me go to Africa today. But still, I'm gonna do some sort of zoo safari, African safari, or local safari here. Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters, Table Toastmasters.
Thank you, Mary. That's pretty ambitious. African safari. That'd be something nice to do. And so that I don't think I'd like to go out in the wilderness like that. But anyway, one of my top things is to just go see my friends. Get out and go see my friends and socialize a little bit. All right, my next question is going to go to John Vessels. So John, what are some of the things people can do to help keep their bodies healthy and boost their immune system?
Ooh. Healthy and build their immune system. Well, exercise, which I'm pretty indolent about, which I'm trying to work from since, last week's events. But anyway, boosting the immune system, good healthy eating, and exercise are two of the best ways to build your immune system. A lot of people do like herbal supplements like garlic and all kinds of different things that, help them build their immune system. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it works for some people or not for others. But other than that, your immune system, you're just kind of stuck with it. There's only so much you can do, and that's just being healthy and keeping healthy and exercising and having a good lifestyle. But your immune system is your immune system. Once it gets wound up in a certain direction, that's what it is. It all comes from when we were young and how we were raised. A lot of times, the overuse of antibiotics, because it's like every time you went to the doctor when you were a kid, not when I was a child, we never went to the doctor unless something was broken. So a lot of times nowadays, the doctors give you an antibiotic for every little sniffle and earache and stuff that kids have, and nobody ever gets over anything, and our immune system suffers for that. So I think it kind of is what it is. There's not really a way to improve it other than just trying to eat healthy, exercise, just take care of yourself. Back to you, Dagan.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. They give you inbox and things like that for everything nowadays, and your body just gets used to it, and over time, it's not as effective anymore. And I meant to look this up before I got on the meeting, but I could have sworn I heard one thing a long time ago that if you're always constantly washing hands and not being exposed to germs and things like that, you don't build up your immune system either. So of course, growing up, most of us, older people are, growing up with kids, we're always getting dirty and we're always exposed to, germs and things like that. So that actually helps, I think, build your immune system. Although if anybody can chime in if you think I'm wrong, it helps build your immune system. So, if you're not exposed to those things, your immune system's not as good. So I think it's, always good to expose yourself to certain things to help build your immune system, as you're growing up.
Just like COVID-19.
Right. That's
and we've all heard this too. I think all of us grew up eating dirt outside
Yes.
in the flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not eat dirt.
I did.
Oh, I know a lot of people did.
Dagan,
Yeah.
I think that what I think you may be talking about is about antibacterial hand washing. I think if you use the regular soap, which you can't hardly find anymore, that keeping some immunity. You know, I think when you get, I think that has to do with what you were talking about.
Yeah.
As opposed to using regular soap as opposed to antibacterial all the time, and cutting down on the antibiotics. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's going to conclude my portion of table topics. So I'm going to ask the timer, did everybody qualify on time?
Yes, everybody qualified on time.
All right, then grammarian, Mark Sims, did everybody use the word of the day?
Yes, everyone used the word of the day.
All right, so everybody vote on the person they thought did the best table topics. And remember, if you're voting for one of the Marks, please make sure you say Mark Sims or Mark Schroeder. Remember, Mark Sims talked about venturing out or waiting until the pandemic is over. Then Mark Schroeder talked about washing his hands more and things like that. And Mary talked about the top things on her list. Then John Vessels talked about keeping us healthy and boosting our immune system. So please take a moment and vote for your best table topic speaker. Remember again, the one with the marks, please. But please say Mark Sims or Mark Schroeder.
Dagan?
Yes.
Who is the vote counter? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes. John Vessels. So please send a private chat to John Vessels.
Got it. Okay.
And now I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Tanya Howard.
Thank you, Dagan. So just to end this segment, I would hope that you have an opportunity to find an activity that you can do, that you feel confident being able to do in our home neighborhoods, in our Metroplex area, to enjoy a staycation, considering that we are not sure how long we will be able to remain at home, how long we're going to continue being at home. And you have to think outside the box and be creative so that we don't go stir crazy just being at home. So I wish you the best of luck with finding some fun activities to do outside your house, even in your own backyard, literally your backyard. At this time, I would like to hand the meeting over to our general evaluator for the evening, Mark Schroeder.
Thank you, Tanya. Yes, in fact, since my backyard is a pool, for me, for all practical purposes, that has been a staycation. I've probably gotten way too much sun this year, certainly way more sun than most years, because usually I'm at work instead. By the way, Lee, I wanted to say in particular, I appreciated your answer with regard to the ability to go watch chips being made. So my wife used to be, until she retired, HR director at Frito-Lay. But before she was HR director, she was there basically as a contractor and would actually go watch the Cheetos being made. And apparently, if things are going well, everything is really good. But if things go really wrong, you get mega Cheetos. So it was interesting. She actually worked on, among other things, the manual for the equipment to make Cheetos, which I thought that's an unusual job to have. All right, so my job tonight, of course, I am the general evaluator. That means I'm going to be doing a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole at some point. I will also be calling on our duty holders to tell us how each of our individuals performed their roles tonight. And I will also be starting off, of course, with the 2 evaluations of our speakers. Now, let me go ahead just in case, so that in case anybody wants to see it. Right here, oops, we move that out of the way. We've got the agenda. So our 2 speakers tonight were, of course, Karen and Lee King. And our evaluators are going to be Rob Giles and John Vessels. So you guys are going to be up on deck next. Our first, in this particular case, our 1st speaker was Karen Lee. Karen's evaluator was Rob Giles. Rob, are you prepared?
I am.
All right. Please welcome Rob Giles for his evaluation. Rob.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow members, and especially you, Karen. I'm glad to have you back to hear your first speech back and your first speech in Pathways. Tonight, I'm going to go over a few things that I thought you did really well, a couple of things that I thought you might think about working on, and then finally, one thing that I really, really loved. So first, your opening, I thought, was fantastic. If anybody was starting to get a little complacent, perhaps even a little indolent, then they were woken up by turn off the water. So you did a great job with grabbing our attention. And you actually went through with gestures and things like that. And that actually was what I thought you did well as well. You incorporated gestures. You talked about the plumber putting together the pipes and holding them together. You pointed back to your master bedroom when you were referring where you were going to. So you had some gestures there that were very, very good. And that I think helped very much as well, along with vocal variety. And these are some of the kind of the basic foundation that with our old educational path or old educational program, these are some of the projects that we had, and you incorporated some of these very well into your icebreaker speech for Pathways. The vocal variety, obviously the beginning when I said that, but you also had some very good stern comments going on throughout, you know, talking about yelling for the assistant to get out from under the house and things of that nature. So I thought you did a great job with that. One of the things, and I don't know how you might be able to do this because it was all set up before you actually started to speak and before our meeting started, and that was your alarm. So that alarm was a little bit distracting. You moved and pushed through that like a Toastmaster. So I think that was great, but I think that perhaps think about those things a little bit more prior to coming into a meeting, especially where you're speaking. And then finally, not finally, the next thing that I thought you might want to look at and think about is a little bit of the organization, because you gave us basically the plumbing and then you added on the air conditioning scenario, and it seemed like that was kind of an afterthought. And I thought possibly what you could do is actually at the beginning have a different beginning where you incorporated a little bit more of both of those, you know, some household, you know, I guess disasters, and then in the end also bring it up and wrap it all together in the same way, and then have those as just two of the parts, maybe reduce the flooding incident and then increase the AC incident and give a little bit more information there. Overall, I thought what was really great was that your topic, I think, is probably relatable to all of us. We've all had some sort of emergencies with where we lived in some part of our life. So I thought you did a great job. Keep up the good work. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Hey, thank you, Rob. Some very specific and insightful comments for our speaker, Karen, tonight. Our next speaker, of course, was Lee King. Lee's evaluator this evening is John Vessels. Take it away, John.
Well, thank you, Mark. And tonight I'm going to give you an evaluation of Lee's speech. So good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Lee. Tonight, the goal of your speech was to share with us a practice, a personal strategy for building connections through networking, and to share some of your experiences networking. And I think you did all of those quite effectively tonight. You started with a good opening, gave us some personal history about yourself and what the point of your speech was, opportunities for networking and how we can achieve those, especially through Toastmasters. You gave us 3 good points, each well supported. The first one with TLI and getting out here and getting to know other officers and people outside of our group. And the next point you did was about attending district conferences and our enclave. Again, to even get a broader selection of interviewing experience with other people, and taking into account that all these people that we meet have different jobs in real life, have different roles, and they have the opportunity for us to take different points of leadership and different aspects of just their life and just personal connections. We may find a friend out there that is not in our club, but it still turns out to end up being a friend. Somebody that maybe shares your interest or has an interest that you're interested in, and maybe you can get some insights. The third point, which I thought was really interesting, was like going to other clubs. I mean, yes, going to other clubs is a good thing, but I liked the fact that you mentioned going to corporate clubs and then getting to hang around and go on tours and stuff like at Frito-Lay and PepsiCo and stuff. I thought those were neat. It's like if I went to a corporate club, I probably wouldn't get to do anything. They go, oh, yeah, this is it. Well, it's a hospital, so you can't go anywhere because there's too much involved in too many other things. But maybe I'll find a club in some cool location or some kind of cool interest that I'd like to go see how that's made and start telling those people. You wrapped it all up with a really good closing. And I think the whole point, the best point you made for the entire speech was don't socialize with the people you know. Go out there and socialize with the people you don't know, because that's when you're really networking. Because we already know our friends. We've networked them to death probably. So good speech, well supported, did a great job tonight. Thank you, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you, John. All right, at this point, we've had 2 evaluations tonight. So my next duty is to call on a timer's report. How did both of our evaluators do on time?
Both evaluators qualified on time.
Excellent. So since we've had both evaluators qualify on time, that means that both are eligible for a vote tonight. Please make sure that you send a vote through private chat to John Vessels for either Rob Giles, who evaluated Karen Lee, or John Vessels, who evaluated Lee King. If you would like, also feel free to send each of those evaluators any comments on their performance tonight. I'll give you just a moment to do that. All right, giving everybody just a moment there. At this point, I have a choice of going and doing the GE comments on the meeting or the duty holders. I have very few comments on the meeting tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and do the duty holders. We will start off with, I'll go ahead and do mine as posture bell for tonight. Let's see, what did I notice as posture bell? Karen, let me get me where I can see me. So Karen, the things that I noticed, there were some times that you were clasping your hands, and that seemed to be kind of a rest position for you. On the other hand, when you were clasping your hands during the part about holding the pipe, it was 100% purposeful. So it's real interesting. The very same gesture is purposeful while you're holding the pipe and otherwise just a rest position and perhaps a little bit distracting. Let's see, I also noticed one thing to be careful of while we're on Zoom is make sure that you make good eye contact with the camera. That is something that you were doing it some of the time. You're not doing it 100% consistently. I did appreciate the fact that before your speech, you checked out your position. I know this is one of the first speeches that you've actually given here since I was an icebreaker and first one on a Zoom type media. So I appreciated the fact that you checked exactly where you were and how it would look before you started your speech in terms of the camera position. I think that really did improve and enhance things. So kudos on doing that. Let's see, Lee. And not just Lee, but a lot of people. One of the things about this particular media is we do have an awful lot of what I would call talking heads, because everybody is that close on the camera. And it does obviously remove a little bit of what the posture person can do or can see. But Lee, in particular, I want to let you know that even though you are tight on the camera, you do a very good job of making up for the lack of being able to see your hands and other posture by using your voice and your face. The combination of the two are very effective, and just wanted to mention that. The one thing that I did notice that you did was, and let me make sure I get this with the correct, actually, I don't know if you reverse your camera or not, but I noticed you went across to scratch your nose once. You did it from the opposite side. I noticed that. John, also, you do a very good job with your facial expressions. We have a little bit of body because we got from about, I suppose, here up, but you do a very good job with your facial expressions. You give it a lot of emotion on camera. Very good job. Rob, particularly, I think you get best in class for gestures tonight because you did the gestures and you have got your hands above the level of the camera line a lot of the time. It's hard to remember to get them up that high, I have to admit, but you do a very good job. I don't know if you're watching while you're doing that. John, you came really, really close once on the enclave, I think. You did it right at the camera, right at the bottom edge, but it was still on. You were still on. So I think that's going to conclude what I had for the posture monitor tonight. Let's move on to the AH counter. Mark Sims.
We had quite a few ahs, or uhs rather, and you knows, and a lot of so's. The and you knows evidently are filler words. The so's can be appropriate. For example, if I said I worked late tonight, so I would not have to work this weekend, fair enough. But if I just started off, so what did you do today, as opposed to what did you do today, the word can get in the way. And just to disclose some of the folks who use some crutch words early on, and then I think once later, Tanya used a couple of ums and then a few so's. Karen, I heard several us in your speech. Rob, I heard one you know in your evaluation. Dagan, several you knows and one things like that phrase. John Vessels, you know, and a few so's to introduce the sentence, and likewise Mark Schroeder, a few so's. Therefore, we all have things to work on and we can focus on that. It may be prior to the next meeting. I still have the box of our supplies in my trunk. Next time on the AH counter, I'll bring in the clicker and maybe reinforce that. As far as my grammarian role, there was good usage of the word of the day, of course, in table topics, and then both Tanya and Rob used it outside of table topics. There were a few phrases, and some of these have been brought out by the evaluators. Obviously, Karen's turned the water off, at least in its volume, as Rob pointed out, got attention. And then Karen, you made the point one time there was blood everywhere, which we don't hear in a lot of Toastmasters speeches. I mean, you talk about really making the speech more exciting. Some guy bleeding and having to go to the hospital. That qualifies. And then, of course, it was pointed out the wisdom of Lee's comment for people to, at conferences everywhere, not just at Toastmasters events, to don't talk to the people you know, talk to people you don't know. A few good phrases used tonight, good usage of the word of the day, and we have a little bit of work to do on the crutch words. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Mark. Okay, for now, we are done with all of the minor duties and duty holders for tonight. I'll go ahead and do a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole. We started roughly on time. We were waiting for one or two people to get into the meeting, which they were people who had significant roles, so we wanted to make sure that they were here and contact them before the meeting just to make sure that we could have them here if we did not see them pop in on their own. One minor thing is we started off our meeting. We normally have started our meeting off with an agenda. Our facilitator, our brand new fledgling facilitator missed doing the agenda, no big deal. On the other hand, he did a very good job of acknowledging Mary, our Area 33 director who is here tonight, and for also acknowledging Charlene, a returning guest. Thought our theme was wonderful. It's very appropriate because I think all of us are having to do a certain amount of staycation, and it is summer after all. So I certainly had to take a few days myself just to get them off of the books. And I really appreciated, Tanya, all of the prep that you did, the pulling together of all the photos, the very nice presentation that you did of all of the photos as well, plus the planning that took. It was very appropriate. I think it improved the meeting a lot doing that. It also allowed me to put some comments into the chat window about some of those venues in the meantime. And at least you touched a nerve in me with regard to that, not a bad one, but a good one. So I thought if you did that for everyone, that's about the best you can do as a Toastmaster. So very good on that. Let's see, we also had 2 speakers tonight and 2 evaluations. I love it when we have at least 2 or 3, because having a contest is always important. Not that everybody is necessarily type A, it's all about me and my needs, but there's just something about having multiple speakers and the ability to know that, yes, if you got the ribbon, you really deserved it and people did vote for you rather than just winning by default. I remember one particular, way back when there were slot car races, if you ever remember what those were. I remember going to a slot car race. There were 8 cars on the track. And by the time we were done, I got like a 2nd place because every other car had fallen off. That was not exactly the thrill and victory that it should have been. I still was horrible, but I got a ribbon because everybody else had fallen off. And when we have true competition, the awards mean more. I think with regard to our meeting tonight, let's see, I did not hear the posture bell much from me. To be honest, I can't find that I did not really see anything that I would have wanted to ding for, except perhaps maybe 1 or 2 things during the prepared speeches when I'm supposed to be silent anyway. Other than that, everybody did a great job tonight on all of their roles. I think our meeting has gone very, very smoothly, and I will be looking forward to the next one. I have one final duty, of course, which is to begin a vote for the best of the big 3 tonight. If you would, please consider and cast your vote for the best of the big 3, being first for our Toastmaster, Tanya Howard, second for our Table Topics Master, Dagan Newland, or perhaps third for your general evaluator, Mark Schroeder, which is myself. We'll give everybody about 10 or 15 seconds to do that. Those votes, of course, go to John Vessels again. And after everybody's had a chance to do that, I will turn the meeting back over. Tanya, do you have anything that you would like to finish up with, or are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. All right, having nothing more from Tanya, I will go ahead and turn the meeting over to Mark Sims for a quick business meeting. Mark.
Thank you. For starters, we'd like to thank Charlene Scott for joining us again. She visited us a few weeks ago. I had that opportunity to be back tonight. And Charlene, based on the meeting, did you have any questions, or is there anything that we can do for you? Because you're very welcome to continue to attend or to join.
No, I'm very indolent tonight, so I really don't have any comments.
Okay, that is good. Well, thank you again for coming back tonight, and please do come back as much as you can.
Having me.
And of course, we noted that Mary Gomez is here, our Area 33 director. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to talk to her and the assistant director, Jing Shen. At one point, they were asking me about the club. Noted a few things, but something caught my attention tonight. I didn't tell you, Mary, in that looking at the members that are on the screen, I was doing a quick count, and there's at least 70, maybe 75 years of experience in this club represented tonight. So that is another item to keep in mind when you're thinking about this club. And Mary, is there anything that you would like to discuss tonight? Anything on your mind?
Yes, one of the things that I would like to do, officially introduce myself. I didn't tell you guys that I am what is my home club, and actually this club, it is amazing. You guys talk about my club. I am part of the Chattering Chester's Toastmasters in Frito-Lay. I have been in that company for 14 years, and actually, Mark, I was the process engineer making Cheetos, so I am an expert making Cheetos, so I know exactly what we are talking about. So you guys made my day today. So for my side, I, as an area director of of this club, some of the things that we need to plan is the officers induction. So just let me know when you think that it's going to be a good time for doing that. A reminder about the TLI coming this Saturday. Are you guys planning on going to that one? Okay, great. And be planning to join to some of the meetings from time to time. I love this time. I love your club. I was really impressed about how social you are. I have a good time, and for me it was really good to see other clubs outside, like what Lee was saying, going to other clubs. I had not had the chance to do that in a long time, so this has been a great experience. Now that I am able to go and do it with the pandemic, we can do it through Zoom, so it's easier now. So I'm very excited about getting to know you more through these meetings. So I'll be here to support you guys in anything that you need. Okay.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for reaching out. And would you tell me, Mary, what's generally your availability for being able to come back and perform the induction ceremony?
I think this time I can work it out on Thursdays afternoons. I'm not going to be traveling in the month of August. That's official, at least from the company perspective. So you guys want next week and be done next week. So any Thursday, basically.
And let me get a sense of the club. Most of the officers are here tonight.
Yeah.
I'm game for an induction next week if y'all are.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
That would be really great. That way we would get that very necessary function performed, and we'd have clarity on that. And I'll email Nicholas, our Sergeant at Arms, to let him know that we'll be planning that next week.
Okay, sounds good.
And Mary, do you know when is the area contest for Area 33?
I will send you the information. I know I put it in my calendar, but I will have to go and look into. But yeah, I should have come with that prepared. But I will send you the information to Mark Sims, and I have your email as well, since you are an officer, so I can send it to you all.
Well, mainly I just didn't know if we're early or late. I mean, because I know that sometimes they start contests as early as like last week in August.
I try to choose not too early in the game. Okay. Kind of closer, but also giving time for us to practice, like have chance to practice once we get the winner. So we have a little practice before going to area. So that was kind of my game plan when I was going into that selection. That is not as simple as I thought.
Now, are they, I guess at this point, have they really talked about, are they planning on trying to do face-to-face contests, or are they kind of talking more of them all being virtual, or is there no way of knowing at this point?
For now, everything is going virtual. It's kind of tough, but yeah, it has to be the situation changed for us to go in person.
Okay. I was just wondering what they were saying in y'all's training, you know, when they were laying out the calendar and everything.
Yeah, no, that's the way that it is for now.
And at this point, I'd like to see, are there any members that have any other business to bring up? I'm not aware offhand. Robin.
I think that, unless I missed it, as a club, I think we need to vote in the 6 members that came on board right before the beginning of this new term.
Have we heard from them?
I have not heard anything from them.
We have had, let's see, I'm the one who's been contacting them. They've been sent 2 invitations now to the Yahoo group. At least as of the beginning of this meeting, I have not checked email since then. They have not subscribed. They have also received text messages for this meeting time. I did get a reply from one of the, I did not count Indu, since Indu was our previous area director, and she kind of knows where we are. I didn't feel like needed to reach out to her at the same level as the other 5. One of the 5 did contact me asking me when the meeting was last week. I have not checked the phone. Nope, I have not heard from anybody for this week, from the ones that I sent out for this week.
If someone wants to make a motion to admit them, so be it. Personally, I am not that enthusiastic about voting in folks who've not shown the courtesy of showing up. But obviously that'll be the will of the club.
I think our problem right now is they are on our roster. We have taken their money and they are enrolled with TMI. We need to do it.
I would second that.
That if that's the will of the club, we can vote on it. I have a concern with that. Again, there's a simple courtesy issue.
I can go both ways. I see both points. Seems like we could wait and see if they bother to show up. If they never show up in the next couple of weeks, then, you know.
And let's put it this way, before we choose to do that, I suspect we should at least warn them that that is what they should expect.
Mm-hmm.
That's very fair. I mean, we welcome them with open arms here.
That seems eminently fair.
But before we vote someone in, I think we should at least see their face.
It is also true that, let's see, we learned that they were new members on either the 29th or the 30th of June. Our next meeting was probably the 2nd of January. So of July, sorry, it was probably within 3 maybe days. The only thing that we had a chance to do, because we did not have a chance to get them entirely on the Yahoo groups and get all of those invites out, was that they got the text messages and they did get a separate personal email saying that I believe I got one of those out. So they did get the information barely in time for one meeting, and we've now since had 2 others. This will be the second one, I guess, after that.
Yeah, and I have emailed them a couple of times, all individually.
So realistically, I think that these people are just papers only. They're going to fall off in a few weeks, and we're never going to hear from them. And it was just to get someone a DTM, and that was about it. So we'll probably end up needing another club coach come October 1st.
I would say if anyone wants to make a motion, we can entertain that. Or if there's just a general sense that we want to see who shows up next week, but give them another opportunity, then we can do that. So I am open to the club's will.
Well, I would make the motion that we at least inform them that, you know, that's going to be the disposition if we don't see them in a certain length of time. Whether we give them a week or 2 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, I would second that.
Yeah, I'll go with that too.
In that case, everyone in favor of giving them the notice that basically we would like to see them before voting on them. If I'm phrasing that correctly, definitely giving them the notice. Please signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
In that case, letting them know, giving them notice is an excellent idea.
Yeah, either I can take care of that or Rob can. He and I will Rochambeau for it.
Okay.
I think moving forward, and this is obviously something that we can discuss at another time, but I think moving forward, we shouldn't take people's money. I thought that there was 1 or 2 people. I don't think nobody was expecting 6. I think moving forward, perhaps we should look at making an amendment to our bylaws that people have to at least come before we can take their money. So in other words, we can't have someone try to sign somebody up, 6 people up at the 11th hour to get their DTM, and we don't even get the benefit of the member.
Yes, but they can join the Toastmasters International without even asking us.
Well, yes and no. If so, they haven't paid the club dues. And if they haven't paid the club dues,
Correct.
we don't go.
Okay.
They're not members.
Okay.
And I think for new members, they still have to be put in the system. Like, I know you can go in and renew your international dues, but if you're not a member, I don't think you can join. I think a club has to put you in first. But again, that's a topic for another day, but something that we should probably consider, and since this has happened a couple of times.
Well,
Yeah, I
we can
think
reach
that's an
out.
excellent.
We'll reach out and see whether or not they have any intention whatsoever of coming to meetings and being, part of our membership.
Well, the one downside to that is like, okay, well, you paid your dues and tests, but then we don't accept you. So do they get their money back?
Oh no,
Well,
I think it's realistic that she did this just to get her DM or whatever it was, and they're not coming back. I'm just gonna be realistic. They're not gonna show up.
Yeah, that's probably not. Probably not.
And as far as if they,
Were we in person, I'd certainly agree with you. The fact that we're virtual makes it a little easier. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be, even though we're virtual, I'll still be realistic that it's all for her, and they're not gonna come, even though we're virtually.
I certainly don't expect all 5, but I'm
as
optimistic.
as far as money back, I mean, they could go to her and get that money back. I don't think she probably paid for it.
Oh,
I don't, but
How did they get signed up? You're smiling at me, Lee.
they can put them in the computer.
They can put them in the computer, okay, but
Yeah, because I sent invoices to each of them. Everybody got their own invoice, and everybody paid me.
oh,
Ooh, and I guess the next question is, I did not know, where did you get the email list from? From them individually?
From Indu.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much for that discussion. Is there any additional business to bring up?
Not quite business, but at least something, since we're not meeting in person, we really don't have post-toasties and time for people to just talk with each other. I'm probably going to try to put together a short, it will not be long, and it is not going to have speeches and everything else. We just put together like a get together on maybe a Monday night or something for anybody that wants to join, just to talk to each other, since we don't get a chance to do that anymore.
That's great.
That's
Okay.
great.
And if anybody's got a better suggestion and thinks Monday night is not a good night, let me know. But I was just, weekends can sometimes still get busy even though we're locked in our rooms.
I'd say maybe more like a Sunday night.
I could do it Sunday, but I've already got a quarantine cocktail hour with my sisters.
No.
So I could do it, but that is 8 o'clock. If we were to do it around between, outside of 8 to 9 p.m., I could do it. So Sunday is another opportunity. Maybe do it a little earlier, like 7 to 8 or something. Or even just 7:30 to 8. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Now that is great. Really appreciate that.
Sure.
At this point, John, would you please announce the winners?
I certainly will. The speaker
No.
tonight goes to Lee King. The best table topics goes to Barry. Best evaluator a good thing I have this ribbon. To me. And the best of the big three. Congratulations, Miss Tanya. And that's my role for this evening. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. And thank you again, Mary. And thank you again, Charlene.
Thank you.
Take care, John.
Good night.
Good night,
Night.
John. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Char. I don't think you're still on, but if you are,
Yep, I'm on. Thank you.
thanks for coming.